month, the theme has been, I experience the beauty of everyday living. I experience the beauty of everyday living. And I have a question for you. And that is, in this theme, which word stands out to you? Which word would you say is important? Beauty. When I first started this, when I was meditating on this and this came to me, the idea of beauty stuck out for me. It was what I resonated with. It was what I was going to go with. And it was something that I had as the month began. I had every intention of working with the idea of beauty and moving with the idea of beauty, and it seemed like every week a different thing came. And so this week I said I'm going to focus on beauty. I'm going to allow that to be what is the focus and the idea that we are dealing with today as we close out the month of June. And I was ready to do that, and the Brexit. Those of you that are not familiar with it was the Great Britain's referendum on remaining a member of the European Union, whether they were going to continue to be a part of the European Union or not. And if you don't pay attention to that, there are some implications there, whether it was, the result was that they voted to exit or to move themselves from the European membership in the European Union, and whether you attribute it to, as some people did, xenophobia or racism or the immigration issue or some other issue and all of that, the fact of the matter is that Great Britain chose to remove themselves from the European Union. Now, you might ask, well, why is that important, and what does that have to do with me sitting here in Memphis, Tennessee at Openheartspiritual Center today? And the thought came to me because I saw something that was kind of astounding to me. And that was the fact that after the vote, many people, many of the residents of Great Britain revealed the fact that they voted for something that they really didn't know that they were voting for. They took the word of some politician or some media personality or someone else, and they voted based on what it was that they said, rather than understanding the issue for themselves. And as I thought about that, I thought about the fact that rather than pointing the finger at them and saying that's really shameful and they ought to do better or feel bad about what happened and those kinds of things, it took me to the idea that ultimately the word experience is important, because experience to me says that we know something for ourselves. And in their case, rather than them learning the facts for themselves and weighing the issue for themselves, they took the word of politicians or someone else. And I think it's important for us in this teaching. We have the wonderful teachings of New Thought, Ancient Wisdom. We have the teachings of Ernest Holmes and Deepak Chopra and of the Fillmores and of Neville Dyer and of all of the great teachers and those kinds of things. And those are wonderful things. We can quote them. We can use affirmations that come from them. We can do all of those things. But the important part of this and the important component of this, if we don't experience this for ourselves, we can very easily just spout it and say it and allow it to remain intellectual knowledge. But the really important part for us is for it to become who we are. That we practice it daily in our lives, that we live it, that we make it a part of who we are. I mean, I can sit all day and read a book on meditation, but until I actually do so, I'm ultimately not experiencing meditation. I don't know meditation in the way that it was meant to be known. I could read a recipe book about baking a cake. But until I pull the eggs and the butter and the flavoring and the sugar and the flour and get the mixer out and get all of those things and turn the oven on and put it all together and put it in the oven and wait impatiently for it to come out, I'm just going through the motions. I remember years ago when I decided to start riding a bike again. I'm a researcher, and so I got all kinds of stuff about bike riding and all of that, and I was reading about the terms of a bike. I got a bike that was given to me as a gift. I was excited about it and everything, been reading about bike riding and all of that. And then the first time, it had been the first time, I mean, in literally 20 years that I had been on a bike. And the first time I got out there, and I started pedaling, and I felt the wind on my face, and I felt the bumpiness in the road, and the handlebar shaking, and all of that. It dawned on me that this was the real deal. There was nothing between me and the traffic, and the sidewalk, and the road, or anything else. I was out there, in the midst of it, in the real thing. And the thing of it is that all of the reading and all of that was fine, but ultimately to experience for myself was the most important thing that I could do in that moment. Terrence Grant, in his book, The Art of Unknowing, tells about, or he talks about what he calls a secondhand faith. A secondhand faith, or living someone else's faith rather than experiencing it for ourselves. And he makes reference in that chapter to a secondhand faith through, you all remember the Memorex cassette tapes? I mean, we're going way back now. The Memorex cassette tapes. There was a particular commercial that Memorex did featuring Ella Fitzgerald. How appropriate for jazz and shoe. And they would show Ella in the studio singing. And she was scatting, and she was doing all of the wonderful singing that only Ella could do. I mean, that crystal clear voice of hers that I used to love to hear and still love to hear. She was singing, and then she would hit this one note. And the camera would be focused on a glass, a crystal goblet, and when she would strike that particular note, it was shattered. And then they showed that while she was singing, they were recording her voice using the Memorex cassette tape. And they would play, they took the same goblet, they played it back, and the idea was that the fidelity in the reproduction on that tape was so great that it could capture the same clarity and pitch and everything else that Ella's voice delivered. So they played it, and then it also shattered from the recording as opposed to Ella's voice live. And then they went on to talk about the qualities and the aspects of the cassette tape, and when they got finished with that, again, they focused on another goblet that was sitting there. And you could hear Ella's voice in the background. And when that note came again, it shattered, and then came the tagline. Is it live or is it Memorex? And Terrence Grant goes on to say that so often what we have is a secondhand or recorded faith or understanding. And I'm not putting anybody or anything down, but what I'm saying here today is that we miss out when we don't take the opportunity ourselves to experience these teachings, to experience what it is that we say that we are about, to experience. Last week, I mentioned the fact that Oftentimes people like to talk about the word or the phrase I am as being the name of God, and I really talk about it and think about it as being the expression of the divine. But ultimately, when you say I am and you add your name, I am John Gilmore, I am stating that suddenly I enter into space and time as John Gilmore, as an expression of the divine. And that is something powerful. That is a powerful declaration. And when we at Open Heart stand up here on Sunday morning and look one another in the eye and extend our hands out, rather than it being something, I know it's fun and we do it in a fun way, but we are saying something powerful when we look at one another and say, I greet you, I bless you, I see God in you. We might be different. We might come from different backgrounds. We might be different skin colors, different sexual orientations. We might be different political persuasions, whatever else. But we are standing in that moment, powerfully saying, I see God in you. And even when you can't see it for yourself, somebody being able to say, through all of the stuff, through all of the every mess and everything else, I see that you are divine and I salute you. I greet you. I bless you. When we're able to understand that it's about experience and allowing all of the wonderful, blessed universe and its wonderful energy and source and God and whatever we might want to call it, flow into us and flow toward us and what it does for our lives. There's a story that was told about the Persian king who had been victorious in a military campaign. He was on his way back to the palace, and he realized that he was close to the home of the famous Persian teacher Zoroaster, and he decided that he wanted to pay him a visit because he was known for being wise, and just about, it was said, every person in Persia knew his name. So he made his way to this home of Zoroaster, and as he approached, he saw him out in his garden with his students teaching. And so the king and his retinue made their way, and the king went to him and he approached him and he said, I've heard of your reputation. I know of what it is that you do. He said, I really hope that you would teach me about the laws of the universe and the forces of nature. Zoroaster thought for a moment, and he bent down and he picked up a grain of wheat. He gave it to him and said, this will teach you the laws of the universe and the forces of nature. Zoroaster handed it to him, and the king became angry because he thought that Zoroaster was mocking him. And he said, well, this grain of wheat, how can this teach me? He said, well, teacher, it's been my teacher. He looked at him again and he said, you don't realize that I am a busy man, I am a king, I have things to attend to, I don't have time to sit here and to go through this with you. And he threw the grain of wheat down, and he took his retinue and his army, and they made their way back to the palace. And Zoroaster picked up the grain of sand and he took a leaf and he wrapped it in the leaf, and he said, I'm going to keep this because the king might need it one day. The years had passed, and the king was getting on in age, and also he was growing in fame and fortune, and he was winning campaign after campaign, and things were going well for him. And in the daytime, he looked successful, but what people didn't know is that the king would stay up most nights till early hours in the morning, agonizing and wondering over how it is and why is it that I am wealthy and successful, and just a few miles away there are people that are living in poverty and misery. Why is it that I got to be king and other people didn't? How is it that I'm able to do the things that I do and other people are unable to do that? And what's going to happen to my life? What is my life going to deliver and bring? And he would go through those things. And so finally he said, well, maybe I was too hasty in dismissing what Zoroaster had to tell me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a contingent to go back to him. I'll give him a gift. And I'll ask them to convince him to come to my palace and teach me. So he sent off the group and went to Zoroaster. And he had told them to tell him to come. He's welcome to join my palace and be my guest. If he won't come, to send his best student. They made their way there. And when they came back, they came to the king and they said to him, well, Zoroaster didn't come. And neither did he send his best students. As a matter of fact, what he decided to do was he left the gift back in our hands to return it to you and said, thank you very much, but he won't accept the gift. But what he did do, he sent you a gift. They took the leaf and they put it in the king's hand. And the king opened it. And there again was the grain of sand. He looked at it again, and his emotions almost got the best of him, but he decided, okay, this time, maybe there is something to this grain of sand. So he took the grain of sand, he put it in a golden box. And every day he opened the golden box with the hope that maybe something would happen to the grain of wheat, and the grain of wheat would maybe turn into somebody or something that would teach him. He kept every day, and months passed, and the grain of wheat remained the same in the golden box, and he was upset again. So he said, I'm through with Zoroaster. I know of a teacher in India that I've heard about that's a great philosopher, and maybe he could teach me. I'll send for him. And so he sent, again, a contingent there, took the same gift that he had offered to Zoroaster, and a few months later, he got the word that the teacher in India had agreed to come and to teach him. So the teacher made it. And when he got there and he met the king, he said to the king, he said, you know, I'm really honored by the fact that you chose to send for me to teach you the laws of the universe and the forces of nature. But I really came because I was hoping to have the opportunity to meet Zoroaster for myself. Because I'm surprised you have someone of his stature and his understanding living in your kingdom, and yet you didn't ask him. I asked him twice, and twice this is what he gave me. Took the golden box and put it in the Indian philosopher's hand. So he opened the box, he saw the grain of wheat. He stood and thought for a moment. He set the box down. He sat down and he meditated for a while. People got quiet. And finally he said, yes, Zoroaster is indeed a gifted teacher. He said, indeed, the secrets of the laws of the universe and the forces of nature, you can learn from this grain of wheat. But you can't learn from it by it staying in its box. You have to put it in the ground where it's meant to go. And when you put it in the ground and it exposes itself to the sun, to the rain, to light from the moon and the stars, from the other forces of nature, when you allow it to do that, then this grain into a plant, and it will rise up into the sky, and it will be full of vitality and all of that thing. That if you take a rock and you throw it up in the air, it will come back down because it's dead. But this grain of wheat growing into a plant, it will grow up into a stalk, and it will be full and vital. And it will have all of the things that are surrounding it that are for its best interest available to it, for it to grow. And in the same way, you need to leave this artificial environment of the palace and get out in the garden and expose yourself to the same things. And so the king said, well, all of that's true. I can understand that now. But eventually, this plant that comes from this grain of wheat will die. And the wise man said, yes, it's true, but not before it has given birth to other grains. And it has given birth to other life. And in the same way, when you expose yourself to the powers and the forces of the universe that are pouring itself into you, that are expressing as you, you too one day will die. But it doesn't have to be before you allow your life and all the things that you have to plant seeds and to do things for others. And as I think about this story, what it says for me is that we have this wonderful opportunity. I posted on Facebook, I think it was yesterday, I've told people that on social media I have a pledge, which is every day I try to post something positive. And what I posted yesterday said is that I am a reverse pessimist because I believe that the universe is conspiring on my behalf. I'm reverse paranoid because I believe that the universe is conspiring on my behalf. And it is. And it's not just conspiring on my behalf, it's conspiring on your behalf. That we live in a universe that is kindly inclined toward us. In the book that we're going to be talking about in a few weeks, The Universe is Calling, Eric Butterworth talks about the fact that there is so much goodness and so much of the presence and power of God that is expressing itself in and through and as us. It makes up for anything else. And we get caught up in our past. We get caught up in what people say about us. We get caught up in our surroundings and our circumstances, what is happening. But there is something beyond all of that, which is alive and vital and giving and affirming and blessing and doing everything else that it can to let us know that we matter, to let us know that we are loved, to let us know how special and how precious and how wonderful that we are. It is continually giving this and giving of itself to us. And so when we say that we are unique and individualized expressions of God, it is not just jargon. It is not just a saying. It is not just something that we do. It is something that we are. And we truly can, as in the centering moment, understand what it means to say, be still and know that I am God. That I am this wonderful expression of the divine that flows through me in every moment. And most importantly, in those moments when I can't feel it, it's still there. I think about the story that was told one time of a boy that was standing out. I'd like to imagine on the banks of the Mississippi there in Tomley Park with a string in his hand. It was kind of a cloudy day in addition to being windy, and somebody asked the little boy, what are you doing? He said, I'm flying a kite. The man looked up, I don't see the kite. Are you sure that it's there? Oh, yes, I know that it's there. Because every now and then, there'll be a little tug, a little pull to let me know that it's there. I invited you at the beginning of our celebration to tune in, and turn up the volume and be willing for transformation. And when we come in and we do that and we're serious about that, there's a little tug that tells us God is expressing. When we leave this place, we turn out these lights and we go to our various destinations at home, and nobody else can see us. And maybe we're like the king, tossing and turning at night, wondering what about this and what about that. if we're still long enough, here's a little tug that lets us know that we're all right, that we're connected, that's still there. When things happen to us and money's funny and change is strange and credit won't get it, there's a little tug that reminds us when our health, little tug reminds us. And then we can experience the beauty of everyday living. Because it's in here. And what's in here, we didn't recognize is out there. I invite you to take a breath with me. As we release this breath, knowing the one presence and power of the universe that animates and gives life to all things, that is all things, that expresses uniquely and individually and wonderfully as me. And I know that is what is true for me, is true for all who gather here and beyond. And as we allow it to make itself known in us, that little tug, we greet it, we affirm it, and we know that it is done. Whatever it is has already been done in the mind of God. We accept it now. We allow it to be, we make the pledge today. We experience for ourselves all that we teach and affirm, attest to, so that our lives change for the better, so that indeed we experience the beauty of everyday living. I'm grateful and thankful to know that my word, as it goes forth from me, is not returned unto me void, that all is done and said here and now. It's established in truth as I release it unto the creative medium. I know that it is done, and with joy and thanksgiving, I say it is so. And so it is. So it is.
Bravo!